Hi everybody, Matt Bull here, MD of Action Coach in Loughborough, here with another episode of the Business Spotlight. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Paul Harper from NS Engineering Solutions in Coalville in Leicestershire. How are you today, Paul?
Yeah, I'm good, Matt. Thank you. Nice to see you today.
Good to see you as always. Just to get us started, just tell everybody a little bit about your role at NS and what NS does.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're a subcontract manufacturing company in Leicestershire, Coalville, Leicestershire. There's 25 of us, and we are effectively as subcontractors making other people's components. So we work for OMEs, companies that are designing, manufacturing their own products, and we'll make parts for them, various industries around the UK, really, who then go on to supply global businesses.
Excellent. And how long have you been in your role at NS as the owner?
Yeah, so I mean, NS has been going since 1986, and I joined in '96. So yeah, I mean, 27 years. I mean, I started right at the bottom there. And I've got to be honest, I own the company today, and it's been one heck of a journey, to be honest.
Awesome. Right, let's get into it then. So you joined the company 1986, as you say, owned it from 96. Just talk us through that transition, I suppose, and how you ended up actually owning the business.
Yeah, sure. So the company started in 86.
Right.
I joined in 96. And literally met someone who was running the company back then, and we just got on really, really well and developed conversations around the business, which I think he really enjoyed, and he offered me a role here, and this was before I joined. So started right at the very beginning, really, as I suppose, some sort of office person to learn the ropes, and I just went from strength to strength. I think from school, I was lacking confidence. It didn't really suit me, school. I can blame the school, I can blame my parents, I can do all that, but of course I don't now. That was all down to me, and I don't know what it was. It just didn't work for me, and it wasn't really spotted. So I came out a bit disillusioned and went through a couple of things. And the minute I joined NS Engineering, it just worked for me. I could see how the business was running. I had a lot to learn, don't get me wrong. But it worked really well. And so that was 96 joined, and then I became a director in 2001.
Right.
And a small shareholding. Perhaps that was quickened up by the retirement of the previous runner of the business, Bill. And so that was lucky. I do think a lot of things that have happened to me are down to luck. I do think you make your own luck as well, but yeah, there's no doubt there's some luck in there. And so yeah, I've been running the company since then, and I managed to buy through a management buyout. We managed to buy the company, or I managed to buy the company in 2008-9. Oh gosh, that was fun. Can you remember what was happening with the finances in 2008-9? So I overpaid. But I got it over the line just before the plug was pulled on everything UK finance. The American stuff had already happened, and then managed to renegotiate actually, and a 5-year management buyout plan turned into a 13-year management buyout plan. Yeah, really, and the previous owners were fantastic. Actually, they really supported me and just gave me more time to buy the business because of the financial crash, to be honest.
Amazing. And just talk us through that. I mean, for a lot of people, whether starting a business, buying a business, we're always often driven very much by the concept and the idea at the start, and then we do the deal, and then reality hits. What do you remember about those early days of ownership?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I would chicken out and say the best thing to do is buy a business you're already running. then you've got very much a good idea. Look, it's scary, but I think it goes down to what people tend to tell you about career choices. Choose something you love doing. Make sure it's something that you absolutely love doing, because it will be hard no matter what happens. And there were a lot of things. I suppose for me, the alternative was scarier. So if I didn't buy the business, I did not know what was going to happen to it. The owners were ready to sell. Right. And so I was going to be working for somebody else, and the alternative was scarier. So for me, it was a little bit easier. It wasn't a startup, Matt, so I think that's probably very different. Having said that, Management buyouts, I think we should see more of them. Obviously, finances are a big problem, and people's ambitions, perhaps. Well, nowadays, I mean, look at the cost of living and everything. How do people find the money to buy their business as well? Very difficult. I was lucky, but a company, I must add, a company like NS Engineering, actually very difficult to start up because it's asset backed. So what you must remember about any manufacturing business, we even if, well, I suppose NS Engineering owns our machines, we could rent them all, but for me the market is too volatile. So the minute there's a downturn, you've got to be able to tighten up your costs. And if you own your machines, if you own your buildings, this is much easier to do. That's not me from 2008 or 9 telling you that. That is definitely me from 2023, and I have learned that since I bought the business. But yeah, if you're starting up, then it's much easier to start a service industry, isn't it, than a manufacturing industry with assets that you need to manufacture.
And what would you say have been, as you reflect, on the ownership period? What have you learned about yourself in that over that period of time? Would you say?
Gosh, quite a lot actually. I mean, I now actually know that I love learning new things. I love developing and getting better. I have had some coaching, and what I loved about that, and I suppose that's why I'm doing this now. You've got to get out of your comfort zone, this is someone who has lived in his comfort zone for quite a lot of their life. This is only really recently, and you've got to push yourself that little bit. And that's why I'm doing this now, and it's why I'll do something a little bit silly and a little bit that might expose me to the team here. I found that I'm a much better leader to the team the more risks I take. So if they don't see me doing that, how can I expect them to take those risks? I think I've got to. I'll go off on one. I got made redundant when I was 22, which probably gave me the confidence to buy the company. And I don't want anyone to ever do that to me again. So someone effectively told me that I wasn't required anymore. And I do think we tend to look at redundancies as sort of state of the economy and how things are going. It's an individual person that's just been told they've been made redundant, and it's big. Now, if it's someone who flips and is inspired to do something, then in the end it's okay. But it can affect you really badly, and I still see that. And we did make 4 people redundant in 2008-9, just after I bought the business. That is the only time NS Engineering has made anyone redundant. Wow. And that's my little mission there, to look after our staff and make them accountable. And there'll be some hard conversations, but that won't be followed by redundancy. That'll be followed by more hard conversations. We'll work together, as opposed to saying nothing for a while and then just trimming the numbers. That's not something that I want to ever do, really.
There's we can see a glimpse in there into the workspace that you've created there. Expansion over recent years. How would you describe the economy for you at the moment in the sector you're in?
Yeah, so sector is construction really, mainly quarry and mining, other parts of construction and a few other fringe industries. I tend to think we're ahead of a few things actually. I think construction always feels like it's the first to go. That's not an expert opinion. I'm sure other people in other industries also feel that logic as well. At the moment, it's been a really, really good year, really good start for us. It's just tailing off a little bit at the moment, and we're worried. And we are really busy, but we're just looking at the outlook there. And I'm just worried whether we're gonna be looking at another stop-start couple of years. Obviously, we've had very good reasons and very obvious reasons for that in the last 3 years, really. And so that's worrying. But I do think there's a desire to build and to and grow the industry. I've got to say, we only provide to the UK, but our customers provide all around the world. And what tends to happen is either the whole world's producing, or at least America or China are. And that's one of the reasons why we've been able to invest in the machinery that we have done in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, amazing. As you look to grow the business, as you alluded to earlier, growing people to grow the business for you is clearly very something that you're really passionate about, and something that certainly as coaches we want our own as business owners we work with to get that type of mindset. What advice would you give to a business owner who potentially is perhaps struggling to let go, or is they're a bit unsure about the potential capability of that management team just below them? Is there any advice or
sure.
that you've had from your journey?
I think maybe advice to myself, right? So this is what I would say to myself. It's probably the best thing I can share. And so I had coaching in 2005. So this was a period between becoming a director and actually owning the business. And I suppose there was an element of doubt over whether I would be able to own the business. You never really know until it's happened. And so I invested in myself. And I mean, that was painful, but brilliant. And I have to say, every year that goes by, it's the most valuable thing that I did. Most valuable thing that I did, because every year I get payback on that, every decision. And so, and actually we've had coaching, the team have had a bit of coaching since then because of that. And I've had a little bit myself as well. So I would say if I'm running my own business, and obviously you've got to control your costs, keep those tight, but when you can, invest in the most important thing for your business, and it's probably you. So it's easy to say, but look after yourself, look after your team, and the company will be fine.
Yeah, brilliant. What there's plenty of people out there at the moment who are starting businesses, who started businesses a year or two ago, and as we sort of alluded to, it's still a bit fragile. I mean, with any economy thing, there's definitely a mindset bit to it, and how you approach it is important. But for a lot of business owners, it is tough at the moment. For those early stage businesses who are perhaps a small team or looking to bring that first employee on, and they're finding it hard at the moment, what advice would you give them, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, that's very hard. I do think you need to be across everything. So whilst you can't do everything all at once or all the time, I think in order to prioritize correctly, and in fact have multi-timeline strategies. So I think you've got to look short, medium, and long term. And I think you've got to look across everything and almost have a matrix or a grid, something that says to you, these are the 20 things that I should be thinking about. Presumably this is going with some sort of growth plan. I mean, if you're a startup business and you only ever want to be a one-person business, then you'd still do this. You just wouldn't have certain elements on it. If you want to have 20 people working for you in the next 5 years, then that's a different plan. But yeah, I would have short, medium, long-term strategies across everything that you think you need to be thinking about to reach whatever your goal is, your BHAG, whatever you've got going on. And then don't beat yourself up when, I suppose you've asked the question. I'm wondering whether I'm a good starter, right? So I'll start too many things. And I will tell myself that the reason I didn't do those 10 things this month is because, of course, most people would only try and do 3. But I'm okay with half doing 6 of those 10 things and beating myself up over the other 4. Yeah. That works for me. Some people have to maybe be finishing, right? So that's up to them. But I think as a small business, you have to just accept that whatever plans you have at the beginning of the day, let alone the week, the month, the year, it'll all have gone out the window, and you'll at least put extra things in by the end of the day. So, but have that strategy. You've got to plan. When I started this, you asked me a question earlier about what I've learned. When I started NS Engineering, I didn't do goals. I literally just went, I did feelings. This feels good, let's do that. It was that. And I've learned, and perhaps from my wife, actually, my family life, and having children. And then obviously, when you're running a business, you do try and increase your learnings on it. And then the coaching came along, and and we're doing a lot of goals. And that's the big difference, I suppose, that there were no goals set in 1996, and I've got more goals than I've ever had in 2023. So that's a big difference.
Excellent. So the last question I ask everybody, Paul, I mean, I know you've got, I think, is it teenage children now?
Yeah.
Is what advice would you give 18-year-old Paul?
Wow. Well, again, I suppose, what advice am I giving to my own children?
There you go. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm saying don't come anywhere near NS Engineering Solutions, because I think this is a little bit harder with families.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, don't tell them, but of course, it's always here if they want it in the end, right?
Yeah.
Have your world big as possible. What would I say to myself? That my kids are actually very different to me, so that's a cop out. I'll go with that as a cop out. I think, I mean, definitely school. You know, at the end of the day, you're at school for 5 years. You know, secondary school 5 years, and you've worked for 45. You know, and so messing around in the first 5 is ridiculous. Having said that, I would say that the work I put in between age 20 to 30, and so before I had children, was phenomenal. Yeah. We absolutely worked our socks off, and that really helped. That's really put the foundation. I suppose I made up good time there. So work hard, start early, and believe in yourself.
Yeah, awesome. Paul, absolute pleasure having you on this episode of the Business Spotlight. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for sharing. And to our viewers, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Spotlight. Many thanks. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you.